Our God is still on his throne and ruling the affairs of man. Even as he does not change, his truths have not changed. Thankfully, God still has a people which proclaim that old-time religion, setting forth his sovereignty, and the old paths of truth where we can find rest for our souls. Welcome to Word of Sovereign Grace, a ministry of Paradise Primitive Baptist Church in Arlington, Texas. Get your Bible, call your friends, and sit back as we open the King James Scriptures to explore the glorious Word of Sovereign Grace. Here's this week's message.
Appreciate the opportunity today to be engaged in the service of God with you. I appreciate what has gone before. It's my privilege to be engaged in the service of payment in the years. All the love and appreciated him. Call your attention this morning to the expression 54th chapter of Isaiah. First, pray that the Lord see fit to bless us. Leadership of mind, expression of the Spirit, you might be able to speak to you in such a way that it might be understandable, that it might be God's praise, that there might be something, some benefit in it. In this 54th chapter of Isaiah, God is speaking to his people. Sing, O barren, thou that didst not bear, breakfast and singing, and cry aloud, thou that didst not travail with child. So forth. Come to the 5th verse. For thy Maker is thine husband. Now, we examine that and realize that we have bride of Christ under consideration to you. The Lord of hosts is his name, thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. God of the whole earth shall he be called. For the Lord hath called thee as a woman forsaken and grieved in spirit, and a wife of youth. When thou wast refused, saith thy God. I'd like to skip down to the 8th verse, just get the last clause of that just quickly. The 8th verse, last clause, saith thy Redeemer. Now I read that before I read the 7th verse. We might establish who is speaking, who is addressing. Sometimes I think we overlook little things, miss some of the lessons. This is Christ, God, speaking to his people. This is very similar to some things that have occurred in the life of Jesus. This is not referring to those things, those experiences when God turned his back on Christ, on the cross. This rather has reference to that experience that we have as individuals when we feel that God has removed his presence from us. For a small moment have I forsaken thee, but with great mercies will I gather thee. In a little wrath I hid my face from thee for a moment, but with everlasting kindness will I have mercy on thee, saith the Lord thy Redeemer. Now this expression has comfort for the child of God who experiences the chastisement of the Lord, who finds himself in sin, feels himself to be a sinner, feels himself unworthy to look upon and call upon the name of God, is unable to feel in his heart the comforting presence of the Spirit of God for a while, for a season, begins to fear and wonder, am I embraced in God's love? God says to that child, that suffering child, to that child who is experiencing that chastisement of soul. He said, for a moment, small moment, have I forsaken thee, but with great mercies will I gather thee. In a little while, I hid my face from thee for a moment, but with everlasting kindness will I have mercy on thee. Notice the time frame. The wrath is for a moment, a little wrath, but the mercy is forever. It's everlasting. For this is as the waters of Noah unto me. For as I have sworn that the waters of Noah should no more go over the earth, so have I sworn that I would not be wroth with thee, nor rebuke thee. Now we want to pause and look at the waters of Noah. See what we can find there. The Lord gives a comparison, makes a comparison between this promise and another promise that he made. In the 9th chapter of the book of Genesis, we find the account of the time after the flood of Noah's day. The water has receded, the ark has landed. God has given Noah instruction. Noah has sent forth the dove. The dove has returned with the olive leaf. Noah and his family have left the ark. God makes a promise to Noah. And God, this is in the 8th verse, 9th chapter of Genesis. And God spake unto Noah and to his sons with him, saying, and I, behold I. Now, a little clue about reading the Bible. When God refers to himself twice real close together, you can find always a very powerful statement about what God is going to do. He says, and I, behold I. Look, God says, who it is that's talking to. Look who it is that is making this promise. I remember another expression. It's been quoted since we've been here. In the 12th chapter of John, Jesus said, if I be lifted up, will draw all men unto me. Oh, friends, when you find Jesus or God talking about himself in this way, I, behold I, even I. Oh, there's always a promise there. There's always a certainty there. Emphasizing the very fact that the promise involves not your word, but God's word. Involves the very idea that God is focusing our attention upon him as the promiser of good things, beautiful things, glorious things. He said, and I, behold, I establish my covenant with you and with your seed after you. Now, that's not so very unusual. Here's God, who is alive, God who is powerful, God who is in control, God who has all authority, saying that I'm going to make a contract with you, Noah. But he says, not only that, but I'm going to make a contract with your sons. We're familiar with contracts. We're familiar with covenants. We know how they work. But notice this next verse and realize that God alone is able to do this. And I, behold, I establish my covenant with you and with your seed after you and with every living creature that is with you. Now we have a contract with the cows. Now we have a contract with the dogs. We have a contract with the birds of the air. We have a contract, my friend, with animals. Men don't make contracts with animals because we're not able to enter into agreement with animals. But God said, I make a covenant, Noah, with you and with your sons and with every living creature that is with you, of the fowl, of the cattle, and of every beast of the earth with you, from all that go out of the ark to every beast of the earth. Now there's a time frame here. God said, I'm going to make this covenant with those that go out of the ark. You remember that God had spared a seed in the ark of every species. Every species that is upon the earth today was upon the ark. The seed was spared there. God brought them off the ark, and He made with those individual animals, not just the race or not just the species, but with the individual animals that God brought off the ark, down through the ages of time to every living creature that shall ever live upon the earth. God made this contract, this covenant. Now, this covenant was not made with any animal that lived upon the earth prior to the flood. This contract applies only to the ones from those on the ark to the end of the earth. That's the limit of this covenant that God is making. Notice the language. Make this covenant with you and with every living creature that is with you, of the fowl, of the cattle, and of every beast of the earth with you, from all that go out of the ark to every beast of the earth. And I will establish my covenant with you. Neither shall all flesh be cut off any more by the waters of a flood. Neither shall there any more be a flood to destroy the earth. Now that's a covenant. That's a contract. God said that's a covenant between me and Noah. And that's a covenant between me and Noah's sons, each of the three sons. And with every beast of the earth that shall live from this time until the end of time. Now that's important. You see, God's covenant has a time frame. And God's covenant has an establishment. God's covenant is a covenant of promise. Now, when we come back into this 54th chapter of Isaiah, God says this promise that I'm making to you concerning my mercy is very similar to the covenant that I made with Noah. There are some differences. We come back to Isaiah 54. Who's he talking to? He's talking to his people. The Lord of hosts is his name, and thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. Thy Maker is thine husband. That's who's being addressed in this covenant. This covenant that is spoken of in Isaiah 54 is established by God without dependency upon any condition with those with whom the covenant is being made, just as the covenant in Noah's day was made without dependency upon condition being fulfilled by those with whom that contract was made. Now, that's the main and the basic similarity between these two contracts. You see, in entering into and establishing the covenant with the beasts of the earth, God gave no law that said to the beast, I will preserve you if you do thus and so. God gave no to fulfill? What work must the minerals of this old earth perform in order that God's contract be enforced? There's no condition in this covenant, my friend. This is a conditional, an unconditional covenant established by the God of heaven, who alone has authority and power to make such covenants, and he made it with the beast and with the fowls and with mankind and with the earth itself. And it is established by God, with God, until time shall be no more, that the waters shall no more cover the earth. Now this is as the water from Noah on the moon. Now, when we read over in Genesis, we found out who's embraced in the covenant. God named names. He said with Noah and with his sons after him. That's not just the three that were on the ark. That sons extended. That sons for as many generations as occurred until the end of time. We're all sons of Noah. You know, we talk about we're all sons of Adam, and we are, but we also are all sons of Noah. That covers all mankind. And with all the beasts of the ground, and the fowls, and even with the earth itself. Now it's important that we understand that the covenant specifies with whom the covenant is made. God made the covenant with these people, animals, and inordinate objects, or inanimate objects. Covenants, name. Contracts, name. I have a contract with a school district at home, and that contract specifies the name of the school district and my name. That's the first two lines on the contract. Now, I wouldn't be interested in that whole piece of paper that specifies my duties, that specifies my salary, that specifies my fringe benefits, that specifies the term of my employment. All of that would be of absolutely no interest to me if that second line where they typed in my name is left blank. Without my name on that contract, I don't care what the rest of it says, you see. I want my name there. And then the next thing I want on that contract is I want to come down to the bottom line where there's a blank that says President of the Board. I want that man's signature on that. You see, that contract's not binding until somebody signs it. That covenant's not enforced until somebody places his signature there, saying that this is our agreement. Now, contracts name names. Covenants name names. God, in the establishment of his covenant, said, I make this covenant, and it's between me and Noah and his sons, his offspring, and between the beast and the fowls and the earth itself. That's that covenant. This other covenant is made with different partners. Made with a different partner. David said in the 26th chapter of 1st or 2nd Samuel. First, these be the last words of David. Now this is the last inspired statement that David made to the house of Israel. He lived a while after this statement was made. He no doubt said some things, but this is his last statement that we have recorded, preserved, kept in the Scriptures for us to consider. David said the man that rules over men must be just. Now that's important, that the man who rules over men must be just, and yet David said it's not so with me, although it be not so with my house. Yet he hath made with me, David said, I'm named in a covenant. He hath made with me an everlasting covenant, ordering all things and sure. Now who established sometimes take us 2 months after we had an agreement that they were going to work for us before we had all the details filled in. We'd have people start school, teaching school for us that didn't know what they were going to get paid for that year. We had lots of blank spaces in the contracts. Now, you can get burned doing that, you understand. You can get broken from some bad habits engaging in that kind of conduct. It's not good business, you understand. And God doesn't do business that way. God's contract, God's covenant was ordered in all things from the very beginning. All the terms, all the conditions were specified, and there was an order to everything that the contract embraced. God is a God of order, my friends. I never cease to marvel, it seems to me, at the orderliness of God. I tell you that a God who was careless about order could not have created this solar system on which we exist, where the planets move in their pattern, and the sun, the stars, and the moons, and their pathways are all so fixed and so arranged that all of these bodies move about in the space that is here and never collide. It took a God of order, my friend, to do that. I'll tell you that it took a God of order to establish the New Testament church, and God placed an order in the New Testament church. He established a method to the things that we are to do, a method to the way that He is to be worshipped and the way that He is to be praised. God is a God of order, my friend, and He gave that in the covenant that He used when He established His church. It has order to it, my friend, and God insists that that be respected. God is a God of order. God of order. David said this covenant is ordered in all things, and it's sure. Now, if I were to enter into a contract with a man to build a building for me, I'm going to kind of get the terms figured out pretty close, you know. I'm going to specify how big the building is to be. I'm going to specify what kind of floor covering I want on the floor. I'm going to specify what kind of shingles I want on the roof. I'd specify the pitch of the roof. I'd specify whether the house is to be brick or whether it's to have siding of some sort or other. I'd specify all the things that the house is supposed to look like. And I'm going to specify the completion date and tell him that if you don't have it built by this date, there will be a certain penalty imposed. I'm going to get into all of those details that I could possibly imagine and that I could find out about if I were going to enter into such a contract. And then there would be an order to the thing, you see. An order to it. Now, my friend, God, in establishing this covenant that we have under consideration, established this covenant with an order to it. Brother Haman's expression that he quoted from Romans 8:28. And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, and them who are the called according to His purpose. This expression, my friends, begins to address the order of the covenant that God has made. It addresses the order of the system of things that God has contracted with Himself to engage in for our salvation. This is the order of God's mercy specified here. What do those things embrace? They embrace God's foreknowing of people in Christ. They embrace God predestinating those people to be conformed to the image of His Son. Those things embrace the Son dying for those individuals that He might redeem them from their sins. Those things embrace God calling them out of a state of nature's darkness into His marvelous light, translating them out of Satan's kingdom into His kingdom, into the kingdom of His dear Son, translating us into that kingdom, if you will. And then, my friend, this covenant embraces finally and lastly the gathering of God's children from this earth, out of this earth, if you will, to be with Him in glory. This covenant is ordered. There's a sequence. There's a system. There's a plan. And God has sworn to the covenant. For this is as the waters of Noah unto me, for God, in speaking of the children that He's given to Christ as one of the ordered events of this covenant, He said, if His children walk not in my statutes, if they keep not my judgments, then I'll visit their transgressions with the rod and their iniquity with stripes. Nevertheless, He said, nevertheless, oh, my friend, sometimes as we travel through this low ground of sin and sorrow, you and I feel that God has turned His back from us, to us, His face from us. Sometimes we feel that because of our sinfulness, God has cast us off. Sometimes we feel ourselves so unfit, so unclean, that we're ashamed even to present ourselves in the house of God. We feel that our iniquity is so black, that our sin is so great, that we're unworthy to be found in the assembly of the saints. We feel that God would not look upon us and show compassion. And then that question arises in our hearts many, many times in life. Oh, if God has quickened me, why am I thus? If God has shown mercy to me, if God indeed has quickened me and placed His Spirit within me, how could it be that I would be so vile, so sinful? How could it be that one with the Spirit of God and dwelling in it would feel these thoughts and think these foolish thoughts and have these sinful inclinations that we have those feelings? Sometimes we try to pray, and it seems our prayers just won't go. It seems sometimes when we try to read His Word that there's no light there, and we feel the despair, almost to give up. Oh, again, that message comes to us from on high in a little moment. For a small moment I have forsaken thee. In a little wrath I hid my face from thee. But with everlasting kindness still I gather thee. Oh, thou art mine. Oh, what a sweet promise. Well, let us back up a few chapters here in Isaiah. You got one of those expressions of God. 43rd chapter of Isaiah. But now thus saith the Lord that created thee, O Jacob, and He that formed thee, O Israel, fear not, for I have redeemed thee. I have called thee by thy name, thou art mine. Is not that a sweet thought? But to feel that the God of heaven, the God of all grace and mercy, would say to you, you're mine, you're mine, thou art mine. Notice the next verse. When thou passest through the waters, I will be with thee. And through the rivers they shall not overflow thee. When thou walkest through the fire, thou shalt not be burned, neither shall the flame kindle upon thee, for I am the Lord thy God. Oh, my friend, when the message of God comes to us, whether it be His Spirit bears witness with our spirits that we are the sons of God, or whether it be when the gospel is preached in our midst, declaring unto us the mercy that there is in Jesus for us, when the message of God comes, however it comes to us, and we can feel that God is speaking to us and saying, fear not, thou art mine, I am thy God. Does not that bring to our mind that covenant that He made with us? Oh, I read in the 31st chapter of Jeremiah where God spoke to us concerning this covenant. He said, I will be unto them a God, and they shall be unto me a people. God never ever said, I will be God. He says, I am God. I am God and I change not. But in this expression concerning this covenant, He said, I will be unto them a God. Oh, my friends, it's one thing to think about God, who is the creator of the earth, God who has all power, God who is the judge of the quick and the dead. It's one thing to think about Him in that way, but it's something else again when we can be like David and say, He's my Lord. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall be unto them a God. There's no other God who has ever promised to be unto you a God. There's no other God who can be unto you a God, my friend. He is God, and beside Him there's none else. Oh, I'm thankful this morning that we have this promise from this God. And it is because of this promise that we have from this God that He did say to the sons of Jacob, and that makes me want to talk lot, he said, of mine inheritance. What does that mean? It simply means he stands as a representative figure of all my heirs. He stands here as I use him in my book as a representative of those with whom my covenant is made. Now then he said, I am God. Not that I will be God, not that I would be God, but I am God, and I came from. Therefore, ye sons of Jacob are not concerned. I hid my face from you. All you felt I had forsaken you, but with everlasting mercy I'll draw thee. Now back to Psalm 89. He said if his children don't do like they ought to do, as they paraphrase, I'll chastise them. I'll visit their iniquity with strife. Their sin I punish with the law. Nevertheless, my loving kindness will I not utterly take from, not them, but from him. Oh, there's a loving kindness here. There's a loving kindness that God has for the Son. And because of the obligation that he has to his Son, he will not take his loving kindness from you. But he said, my covenant. Which covenant? The one I made with Noah? That's not the one we're talking about. Not talking about the one I made with the earth here. Not talking about the one I made with the beasts of the earth here. I'm talking about that one that David referred to when he said, he had made with me an everlasting covenant, ordering all things in church. God's not going to break that other covenant. Any covenant that you find that God has entered into, he won't break. But he said, my covenant, the covenant of my peace, will I not break, nor alter the thing that's gone out of my mouth. For as I have sworn that the waters of Noah should no more go over the earth, so have I sworn that I would not be wroth with thee, nor rebuke thee. For the mountains shall depart, and the hills be removed. That's saying a lot. The mountains shall depart, and the hills be removed. But my kindness shall not depart from thee. Neither shall the covenant of my peace be removed, saith the Lord, that hath mercy on thee. When we look at these things, we must look at time frames. And we must look at things as being relevant. In Peter's first epistle, in the first chapter, he uses an expression that seems strange to me. He said, you know that you were not redeemed with corruptible things, as silver and gold. We read in Scripture, and it's true, that gold, tried in the fire, is made more pure. That's not good grammar, but the impurities are removed. It's refined. Gold is an element, and there's no chemical process known to man that will destroy gold. Silver is an element. There's no chemical process known to man that will destroy silver. Gold does not rot. Gold does not rust. Gold will not decay. Same with silver. But Peter said, you're not redeemed with corruptible things, as silver and gold. Now, I know money can be used for corrupt purposes, but that's not what Peter's talking about. Gold, my friend, is finally going to be destroyed. There's coming a day when gold itself shall be done away. There's coming a day when silver shall be no more. I'm not talking about the things gold buy. I'm not talking about the value of gold. I'm talking about gold itself. friend, by which you are redeemed, shall endure beyond that time, into that period when there is no time that we refer to as eternity. The only way that you can think about gold and silver as being corruptible so far as the elements themselves are concerned is that at the end of this earth they shall be destroyed. The blood of Christ endures beyond that moment. Now notice this. For the mountains shall depart and the hills be removed. My friend, when God separated the water from the dry land back there that we read in the account of the creation, I want you to understand that there's sufficient water in the oceans of this world to cover this earth completely again if there are no hills and no mountains. I know that God is able to make water stand as a wall as he did at the Red Sea, but that's not God's method of keeping the earth and the sea separated. God's method of doing that is having high places and low places, water in the low places, dry land on the high places. That's God's order in this thing. He says there's coming a time when the mountains shall be destroyed, when the hills shall be removed. Now, if that's going to happen without having a flood, God's going to have to intervene in some miraculous way, or we're talking about the end of time. I believe we're talking about the end of time. I believe he refers to that time when earth and earthly things shall be gone. Mountains shall depart and the hills be removed, but my kindness shall not depart from thee. Do we see the time frame? That covenant that God made with Noah shall last until this time that we're talking about. But when this event that we're describing here, when it comes to pass, my friend, the covenant that God made with Noah will come to an end. That's when God said the end of it is. Don't need to be concerned about it anymore beyond this time, but this covenant, he said, is an everlasting covenant. It's going to endure beyond that. Neither shall the covenant of my peace be removed, saith the Lord that hath mercy on thee. Now, just another thought or two. God gave a token for that covenant that he made with Noah. God's not obligated to give a token on the covenant. He can make a covenant. He wants to give a covenant, a token of that covenant, that's fine. And if he doesn't want to, that's fine. He gave a token of that covenant that he made with Noah. He's given us a token of this covenant. He's given us a token. In fact, he's given us many tokens of this covenant. I remember back under the law, there was a token. There was the high priest, and he went alone once a year, not without blood, which means that he always took blood, into the holiest of holies. And when he went there, he had a long flowing garment, and sewn around the hem of that garment alternately were bells and tongue grabbers. The people couldn't go with him, but they could stand outside, and they could listen to the sound of those bells on the hem of the high priest's garment. And when they heard that bell ringing didn't put away their sin. That bell ringing didn't please God. That bell ringing didn't do anything except signify that the high priest who made the offering is living. He's alive. There's a token of the covenant here. There's a token of the sacrifice being accepted with God. And we have a token today when the gospel is preached in your midst, and when you can hear the gospel and rejoice in it. It's a token to you, my friend, that the gospel, that the covenant of your peace stands fast with God. It's a token of the everlasting covenant. A token. Token. Paul, writing to the brethren at Thessalonica, in the 1 Thessalonian letter, first chapter, the 4th verse, said, "Know it, brethren beloved, you're elected of God. Because our gospel which was preached to you came not in word only, but in much power and assurance from the Holy Ghost." Oh, my friend, if you can come into the house of God, if you sit down and hear the gospel preached, and it comes to you in power, comes to you in demonstration of the Spirit of God and in much assurance, if you go away rejoicing at the good news that's been proclaimed, that's a token of the establishment of God's covenant with you, individually, personally. You can come into the house of God, my friend, and sit down assure you that though there are periods of time in your life when you feel distressed and when you feel cast down, if there are periods of time in your life when you feel that God is gone from you, then this promise in Isaiah 54 is yours. God chastises us for a season, yet with everlasting mercy and kindness He will draw us. You are the objects of His love. You are His bride. He will come for you and take you home to be with Him where He is, that we may rejoice in His glory and sing His praise forevermore. I thank you for your kindness.
Sovereign Grace, a ministry of Paradise Primitive Baptist Church in Arlington, Texas. Paradise Primitive Baptist Church is located at 5300 Mansfield Road in Arlington, Texas. Services begin at 10:30 each Sunday morning. Plan to come and worship with us. To find out more about Paradise Primitive Baptist Church, visit www.paradisepbc.org. Be sure to visit our website for articles, video, and audio sermons, as well as biblical answers to your questions. Thanks for watching, and be sure to join us again next week. May God richly bless you.